streaming.
Oh, if you can hear me, Morgan, we're doing Ask Junior.
Let's see here. All right. We are live for Ask Junior on YouTube.
Hi, Ask Junior on YouTube. Hi, everybody.
Hey, yeah, way to go, Mike. You take it away. Go ahead.
No, you go.
You do it.
You finish your text.
You do it. I was just sending an exclamation point. Somebody had a great comment or text to me.
All right.
Yeah. So, you want to do it?
No.
Okay.
It's not Ask Mike.
All right. Hey,
I mean, that could be a new segment here.
hey, everybody. I am Dale Jr. doing all the heavy lifting here on at the Ask Junior portion of our show. We just sat down, talked a little dirty air. We got Jeremy Mayfield coming in here in a bit, and excited about that. We've done a lot of research on Jeremy, and can't wait to talk to him. Had a lot going on this weekend with racing. I hope you guys enjoyed everything you saw. I certainly did. And Hannah's got some questions that you guys sent in to Xfinity Racing on Twitter. And let's get them going, Hannah.
Yeah, you guys were awesome sending in a lot of different questions this week. The first one, and we kind of talked about it here in the open, was, your experience at Indy this weekend for the 500. So Steve asks, if 25-year-old Dale Jr. was at the Indy 500, would he be wanting to be on track or in the snake pit?
Oh, on track, probably. So, yeah, I think, I think that when you're younger, you're kind of, you're bulletproof and feel like that you can do anything and can, you're not worried about dangers or crashing or injury or anything. So you just, all that stuff is not even a thought. As you get older now and you start crashing, get injured, bang yourself up a little bit, then you start realizing, just how delicate life is. And so, yeah, the younger me would have definitely wanted to be on the racetrack. And as soon as you stand there and watch those guys go by, I mean, even walking around in the garage and looking at the cars, you want to drive one. You don't feel that way until you're right up next to the car and you're like, oh man, this would be awesome. I don't know why I never did this. And and I think when you're younger, you can definitely take the abuse a little bit better than you can when you're older in terms of the crashes and so forth. So I don't know why it is, but the older you get, the harder it is to recover. Kind of like hangovers, they hurt more the older you get. But it's pretty awesome to be able to get that close to those cars. It's pretty awesome to be able to get on the Peacock pit box. We're literally 30 feet from the racing surface, and the cars are going by into turn one. And it definitely makes you wonder, what you might have been able to do out there one day when you were younger.
This next one comes from Michael Kelly. It says, we've seen Justin Allgaier and Josh Berry race each other very hard at certain points on this season so far, especially on Saturday. What type of advice have you given them on racing teammates hard?
So I was sitting there literally I was not able to watch the race. And so I was looking at Twitter. I was looking at the NASCAR app as far as what lap they were on. I mean, as they're counting down 20 to go, 15 to go, 10 to go, I'm sitting there watching the race on the NASCAR app. And I was in a tent for a production meeting for NBC for the Indy 500 broadcast. And I'm sitting next to Tony Mayoff, who works on my brand team. And I'm also on a text with Letarte, Jeff Burton, and Rick Allen, and they're watching the race and texting. And their texts aren't like they're very descriptive. They're kind of like, "Oh, that was a close one." I'm like, "What do you mean? What's close? What's going on?" And so I was cussing at them for being being the way they are. But
Being the way they are.
Yeah.
Why do you have to be?
I know. I was like, "Oh, this sucks," and I saw a clip of the 7 car getting loose and into the wall, and the 8 brushes him as he goes by. And I looked at Tony Mayoff, and I said, these MFers are going to ruin this. And they've got a 13-second lead, and they are going to wreck each other or ruin the opportunity for either one of them to win, right? They're going to get damage or a flat, and sure enough, the 7 gets a flat. Luckily, the race was so spread out, he was able to get back on the racetrack and still finish in the top 10. But in my mind, I'm thinking, why are y'all doing this to each other? This is unnecessary. But I would probably say that to them if I could have got to them in that moment, right? So I'm not going to say, man, I don't get in their business, tell them how to race. But after a day or two, I calmed down and I'm like, you know what? You got to let them go at it. And it was a heck of a show. They both showcased how much they're willing to risk to win a race like that. And I don't know that I've ever had a good result when I've told a driver that he needs to calm down or back it down. And typically, whenever I've tried to give that advice to a driver, it backfires or they lose a little bit of that edge or whatever. And you just never want to do that. You never want to get a driver to take the edge off. And you got to trust them, right? You got to trust that they're professionals. They're good enough to be able to take those type of risks and come out on the other end okay. And boy, they really got close to that moment where they crossed that line of risking it all and costing both of them a chance. So that was hard to watch. I'm gonna promise you, I get so nervous watching as an owner. I've never felt that way as a driver. Watching as an owner is the most uncomfortable thing. I get sick to my stomach. This has happened so many times when our cars are racing for a championship years ago. Byron and Reddick and those guys racing for championships down in Homestead. I want to vomit as that race is happening. Now, when we win and it's over, you flip this 180-degree emotion from like nearly wanting to throw up to almost being in tears because you're so happy that it happened. And it's crazy to rubber band that way, and emotionally, it's really a hell of a thing. But I never felt those emotions as a driver. I mean, I had disappointment and elation, but as an owner, it's all in your gut. Everything happens right here, in your heart, and boy, it's tough. So that was a rough experience for me Saturday, but you don't get to celebrate the wins if you don't put yourself in that situation or put yourself in that moment, give yourself that opportunity.
Well, to continue kind of off of that and the good racing that we saw at Charlotte, Josh Seda actually made a good comment here in the YouTube chat. He said he was listening to the morning drive on SiriusXM, and they had made the comment of if we had the racing that we saw this weekend at Charlotte 5 years ago, that we probably would never have the Roval. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if they've got a great product, they would have never messed with it. I think they had to do the Roval to try to save the Speedway or give the Speedway some sort of purpose because the racing on the oval was awful. And there was a lot of reasons for that, but I think, they made this – when they paved Charlotte, typically when they pave a racetrack or any road really, they use a combination of the blacktop tar and crushed gravel or granite. If it's more coastal, it might be crushed seashell. Whatever is the most abundant material of that type in the geographical area, they're going to use, and whatever's the cheapest, right? Because they're going to crush this up and mix it into the asphalt blacktop tar and lay down this pavement. And that's how they pave racetracks, just like you'd pave a highway. But they have, the technology's improved over decades, and what they've started to do is, I believe, they use rubber polymers is what it's called. So instead of this crushed granite or crushed seashell, they're actually mixing rubber, little little balls of rubber into this mix, right? And so it is very durable, long lasting, almost twice the life of a typical pavement operation. But it also is like real grippy because it's rubber, and you're going to run a race car around there on top of that surface with a rubber tire, so it's rubber on rubber, so it's really grippy. So that's why the bottom of that track was so dominant, and there was no groove up high, and the track never widened and wore out and aged, because it was made of a completely different material when they paved it. But over time, finally, 15 years later, we finally seem to have, with the help of the resin that they applied in the higher grooves, we have a really, really good racetrack right now. Very bumpy, very rough, very imperfect. They should probably embrace that as long as they possibly can. They'll likely have to do some patchwork, and that'll be fine. But for the most part, I hope that this, this is what Charlotte looks like when we go race there for many, many years to come. And I don't think that they'll ever go away from the Roval. I think that is here to stay, even with how exciting that race was this past weekend. I still think that they're going to try. They put too much into it. It seems to have a good reaction for fans. They seem to enjoy the Roval, and I believe it will be around for a while.
All right, and this last question was submitted by our good friends over at the World of Outlaws. They said, when are we going to see Dale Jr. at a World of Outlaw race?
I saw that. I'm ready to go. I think that for me, I just need somebody to. I like going to a racetrack, but it's hard for me to go to a track without a purpose. I know that race fans, and I'm a race fan, I know that race fans go to the racetrack and they don't need to be attached to a team or a broadcast crew or anything like that, but I've been going to a racetrack with a job and a reason to be there for so long. It feels really, really strange for me when I go to a track and I'm just a spectator. But it's I can do it, but I feel in the way. If that makes any sense. I feel like I don't know where I belong. And so I think it'd be fun. I've talked to a couple teams about going to the Chili Bowl if I could work, right? if they give me a purpose and a reason to be there. Because then I would feel like I was earning my place, right? If that makes any sense. But yeah, I'd love to go to a World Outlaws race and experience that. I'd probably be hooked. I mean, I've watched it for years, off and on. Yeah, so let's go.
Perfect. That is it for this week's Ask Junior.
All right, everybody. Thank you, Hannah. Appreciate everybody sending in your questions to Xfinity Racing on Twitter. I hope you guys are going to tune in later when this podcast with Jeremy Mayfield is released this evening. It's going to be a 2-part, so keep in mind there'll be another episode next week with Jeremy as well. He's got such, there's just so much there that we really wanted to be able to get all of it in, and it also gives us an opportunity to get a Tuesday off. But anyways, thanks Xfinity for everything they do for us here at the Bojangles Studio and the Dale Jr. Download, and for Dirty Mo Media. But also thanks for everything they do for NASCAR. They've been a proud premier partner of NASCAR for years, and I'm a customer using their Xfinity XFi internet. It's fast, reliable, and never lets me down, Mike.
That's true. Yeah, and I want to keep encouraging people to send their questions to Ask Junior to @Xfinity Racing on Twitter.
Yeah, thank you, Xfinity, and we'll see you guys next week.
All right.